Send me an angel right now. Right now. How good was that fucking song? And it'll be stuck in your fucking head all day. You should be an angel. See how I tied that all together? Tied it all up like a bad date. Be an angel. Sponsor the show. You can get information on sponsoring the show at neveragainstudio@gmail.com. You can contact us. We can help your business grow. We offer all kinds of things from apparel, commercials, websites, funding. I can get you anything you need. neveragainstudio@gmail.com. Contact me there. Sponsor the show. It's a small fee. Not doing this stuff for free, and the people I'm about to talk to are paying because they're paying sponsors that help the show. We keep the lights on. It's a family-based environment, very fast and furious. Be a part of our fast and furious family. It's growing. Do us a favor. Contact us. At Sabrachi Jewelry Design, or Sabrachi. I don't even say his name right anymore because of Zach. He's a sponsor of Now We Go, and he's a sponsor of this show. He's a dual sponsor. He's a gemologist. He's a jeweler. He's specialized in CAD design, and he's also a branding specialist. You need anything at all done in those categories, Matt is the best motherfucker for that. It's D'Antonio and Klein Jewelers in Philadelphia, PA, and he's also going to be doing it soon to be in Lehigh Valley, PA. You can call or DM for appointments. He's in Philly on 726 Sanson Street, and you can follow him on social media at Sabraki Jewelry Design. He's made pendants for finishers. We're working on stuff together. It's not just jewelry. We're working on pendants and all kinds of things. He's making rings. He can do anything that you need, from design to gems to jewelers. He is the real deal, and I'm excited. He's a childhood friend who grew a diamond business. He's a jeweler. We did a podcast with him. It's a cool story. Check him out. Sabraki Jewelry Designs. Smooth Roots CBD at Smooth Roots Co. on Instagram, and their website is smoothroots.co. They are at 110 South Main in New Hope. They're at 120 South State Street in Newton, and they are at 911 Hamilton Street in Allentown, and they are at the Palmer Park Mall, 123. They are a farm, two-table CBD company focused on the highest quality hemp education and the highest quality hemp oil. If you don't think that these guys are the real deal, listen to the podcast we did. That is the most information. I got text messages about the information. These guys know their shit. They are the most legit CBD company in the Lehigh Valley, and they sponsor the show. And I'm only pushing them because they're premium. The education is there. The education is there, and then the oils are there. That combination is Smooth Roots CBD. You can get all their stuff at these 4 locations, and you can also check them out online at smoothroots.co. Thank you for being a sponsor, and please get these guys for all your CBD needs. Mad J's Barbecue. Whoo! I watched them grow this business. They hustled it out of cars, and they are taking over. They're at 2 locations, Nazareth and the Willow Creek Brewery. They are open Fridays from 12 to 7, Saturday from 12 to 7, and Sunday 12 to 5. Check online. They have all their information on what they're selling and what they're doing online, and that's www.madjsbarbecue.com. They have pop-ups. They stop over at Seven Sirens Brewery. They have their schedule for Willow Creek on there. You can order the food off of there. They have everything that you need on their website. Go to there for the information. They're also taking Thanksgiving and Christmas orders. I've done both. It's terrific barbecue. It's terrific people, and everything they do is top notch. That's Mad J's Barbecue in Nazareth and Willow Creek Brewery. They're going to be coming on the podcast, and they're going to start being, they're going to be coming in and out of here. And I'm excited. I'm excited to do food with them. I'm excited to finally be working with them. They're great people, and that's madjsbarbecue.com and at Mad J's Barbecue for their social media. I believe it's 97 or 98. I think I'm going to bring my mom on for 100. And just tell her about all the drugs I did and she didn't know. Welcome to Never Again Radio. I have a full studio. This is the first time I've ever ran the switcher and had 3 guests. I guess we can you guys can introduce yourselves. We'll go around the horn, and then I'll get into Smooth Roots, and then we'll talk about what you guys are. But this is a Balanced Veterans Smooth Roots collab podcast. And why don't you guys just say who you are and kind of where you're from, so then they have ability to know what's going on, because there's 4 of us. So we'll start over with you.
Yeah, sure. My name is Ron Millward, and I'm the Executive Director of Balanced Veterans, and I hail from the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Woohoo!
Want to be here.
And then we'll go over to you.
All right. I'm Dave Live. I'm out in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and I own the Newtown Smooth Roots CBD shop.
Nice.
And I am Darren Harris. I'm on the board of Balanced Veterans, and I am in Burlington, New Jersey.
Cool. What I want to do first is get into Smooth Roots, because I got I met up with Kyle and then Ed, and they started sponsoring the show. I had them on, and that was the most information I've ever learned about CBD. That was probably the most I've ever had anyone talk about CBD, where I was like, oh, you guys know what you're talking about, and you're not just selling garbage CBD.
They know their stuff.
Yeah, so you reached out or Kyle reached out to me and wanted to know if I'd be interested in talking to you, and then we got on the phone, and then you were telling me a little bit about Balanced Veterans. How did you get involved with even talking to Balanced Veterans?
Man, I don't know. I mean, through social media, of course, we've connected throughout the last year and a half, I say. And then Darren, me and him met up last Veterans Day, 2019, I think, a little around then. And that's when we linked up, and then it's just been a natural progression of contacting and just seeing what everybody's doing. And then we all eventually linked up in September, I think, of this year.
How did you get involved with Smooth Roots?
I was trying to figure out CBD as well a couple years ago. I got my medical card for Pennsylvania, and I just wanted to learn more about the whole entire plant. And that led me into learning all about CBD. And then they had opened up a store around me. So I reached out to actually the owner of the farm by accident. I didn't even know. I shot them a message. They responded within like an hour. And then they were just super open and brought me in and taught me a lot of stuff and offered me an opportunity. And I built off of that until I could eventually leave where I was working at and just jump into a shop and get that going.
It's always important to wait till you can leave to jump into the opportunity like
100%.
that. I've done it too
100%.
early a bunch of times, but good for you for hanging in there. So then now you're full up and running with Smooth Roots in Newtown?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Correct.
And then when you guys all connected, then how did when did you guys all become kind of working together with Balanced Veterans? Because is that like a project that you're just doing with Newtown, or is it Smooth Roots together as a whole is working with them?
Right. I thought I say as a whole, the whole company's on board with this, but I'm putting up my shop because half the idea when I got into this was like, I want to have a place where veterans can come, like my people can come hang out with me and be comfortable and learn stuff, but just have it be like, I guess a safe space is the word they use.
Yeah.
So that was the whole goal. And then when I brought it up to Eddie and them, they were down, and these guys were cool. That's something we kind of just talked about. And once the shop was done being built, just seemed like time to just, hey, let's coordinate it and let's get it going. Darren had been there from while I was building the shop. He'd come in, hang out, take shots of pictures and stuff. And that was how it kind of naturally progressed into us all meeting now at my store on certain days every other week. Like Wednesdays, every week we can meet up.
That's awesome. I wanted to get into what you guys are doing now, but I wanted to be able to introduce both of you. So now going over to Balanced Veterans, where did you guys start and how did this whole project begin?
Well, Dave just mentioned it, safe space. And part of our mission is to create a safe space for the education, advocacy, and empowerment of alternative therapies for veterans. And so, we are incredibly grateful to have a space for us to come to physically to meet with veterans, because there are close to 1 million veterans in the state of Pennsylvania, way more outside of that in the surrounding states. And so having a place for us to physically meet up, to strategize. We met on Veterans Day, which was, to me, one of the most special Veterans Day I've ever had. There were 6 of us in the room.
Every branch was represented.
Every single branch was represented.
That's cool.
It was, we were able to share. We were able to be there with some other fellow brothers and just celebrate our lives. And the coolest part was none of us were sitting there talking about what we had done in the military. We were all talking about who we were and where we were going. And I think that is just key and vital for us all to find balance in our lives, is to really have a direction and a purpose. And so, Smooth Roots, and I had actually, it's kind of interesting. I know Darren and Dave had connected, and you were heading over to the shop quite a bit there, hanging out,
Yeah.
which was awesome. But I had actually connected with Eddie way back in our infancy as an organization with Smooth Roots, and he was like, "Hey man, we'd love to put your t-shirts in the shop and do some events together and do some things." So from day one, I mean, these guys had just supported us on a whole other level. And for us being a grassroots, smaller organization, it's just been invaluable. It's been amazing to be able to have like real community, and just people to talk to, friends, and now a physical spot for veterans to come. We've been meeting there on Wednesdays for the past couple of weeks and few weeks, and we're going to continue to do that in the near future and put more out about that. But I know, Darren, you were going over there and strategizing and helping with the launch and all of that, so you were pretty heavily involved, man.
I was trying to be. I mean, with Smooth Roots already being its thing, and Dave, like he said, he built this shop from scratch. I mean, it was incredible to see the progression each time I would go visit. So Smooth Roots and everything like that was already going on. Balance Veterans was already going on, and I just wanted to be a part of it in the best way that I could, the way that made sense. So I already had the relationship with Ron. I met Dave not too long ago, a year ago now, and although I knew them separately, I understood that all three of our visions went together. So when the opportunity to link them up came about, i.e. these meetings that we're doing every other week, it just made sense to bridge the gap. So I'm really happy that everyone was in the space to where it was the right time to go to the next step, and all of our different avenues of approach work together to get us there quicker.
Now, Balanced Veterans, was that something that you guys started from scratch, or is it an organization that had already existed?
No, it started from scratch in 2019.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
you guys started it?
I did, yes, personally, and then the team came on board. It was an idea that I had out of my own mental health struggle. There are a ton of veteran organizations out there and people doing great things, but we really felt the need in the community to educate and talk more about alternative therapies. I had come to find cannabis as an invaluable tool in my life and my healing journey. But, there were other things like yoga, meditation, breathing, and we wanted to just start to educate and allow veterans to, maybe there was something they had heard about. I remember doing yoga in the military, but I wrote it off. It wasn't a thing, didn't really.
I didn't know that existed.
Yeah. And really when we talk about yoga, I mean, a lot of this is just, postures and different things that we're doing to stretch and really find ourselves and find our breath. And a lot of that was done in some of the PT and stuff we did in the military as well. And so, I just think that I have lost way, way, way too many brothers and sisters to suicide. And I had almost been that statistic myself. And, we all are on this path of life trying to figure out what is best for us. And it's confusing. And we don't necessarily know what we're doing after we transition from the military. And so the more that we can get together with like-minded individuals and other veterans that have gone through that, not just deployments, but being in the military in general, that lifestyle, what happens through basic training, we have a bond that can't be broken. And I found that when we can come together and talk about it, I feel better. And I know that, time and time again, we hear that from the community, that it's nice to be able to find some people where you don't feel so out of the norm or odd. You can relate and we can talk about things in a real way. And we were like, man, we've got to do this and figure out how we can create impact in this community. And so having conversations with other veterans, and at one point very early on, I'd flown around to meet a couple other larger veteran organizations and just to learn from them and see what they were doing in the space and how we could come in and supplement or help out. I mean, we've got a huge mission. There are a lot of veterans, and we have not cracked the code. 20 to 22 veterans commit suicide every day, and we don't know exactly why or how to stop this. There is no secret sauce or answer or solution. But we do know that there are a lot of tools that can help us to at least find some balance and start to work towards mental freedom.
Yeah, I push mental health on here as much as I can. I have friends that come on. My friend Bill came on, and I didn't know he was going to do it, but he shared his story about he was going to kill himself, and then his wife stopped him. And he pushes like mental health super hard. I've always struggled with just depression, suicidal thoughts, things like that. So when you guys reached out about doing this, and my father was in the military, so when you guys reached out about doing this, I'm always 100% down to just at least give a platform for people to talk about it. And I think it's something that people don't talk about. And I don't know why more people don't talk about pushing and promoting like better mental health, but to be able to have a spot like this is kind of my mental health spot. Like all this stuff down here is things that like change my mood.
Yeah.
Like the blue on the walls to make it feel like ocean and powerful. Like all the artwork are things that have moved me in life. So like when I get down, there's times sometimes where I'll just walk around this room and just kind of look at accomplishments and things like that. So when you don't have the opportunity to have or the knowledge to build something like that of your, like I'm very self-aware, so I know what I need to do to not fall in depression traps and like not fall into like bad patterns where like, you know, it used to be 6 months it would take me to get out of something. So for you guys to have an opportunity to give people information, to be able to talk to people and be like, hey man, like, you know, if you see somebody struggling with something and they don't know what to do to get out of it, like when you guys are meeting up, you have the knowledge to help each other, then that person can help someone. And then now you guys are bringing CBD in, which, you know, my dad's on so many different pills and stuff because of his health and his heart and all that. And I just started getting him like CBD creams and he's just like, wow, he's like, I really like this. And then the doctor starts looking into cannabis and stuff, but it's like my dad knew nothing about that shit at all. And sometimes it's important to have someone to tell you, hey man, like it's okay to smoke a little weed and get the fuck out of your head, or like you guys meet up. Like what are the general, is it just kind of a hang when you guys meet up on Wednesdays? Is it just kind of like you're just talking like we are now, or kind of like what was that built for? I mean, is it close to what I'm explaining where, you know, you need a place to go. You need a place to get out of your head.
That, but man, before we even get into that, I want to stop and say thanks for sharing what you shared, and that's so important. You know, we are talking about mental health, I think, but in the reality of it, people are not actually talking about their mental health, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
there's a huge, and myself included, and like I had to learn this the hard way on multiple occasions, but there's so much shame around mental health. And I think it's because we all create these images of what we are. We walk into a room and we have a title. What do we do? What is our like purpose in life? I am this. I am a, you know, creative director. I work for this company. I do this, and we create these identities. But outside of that, we're not really genuinely getting to know ourselves and what really drives us and who we are. And I think that mental health goes right along. Everybody has it. It's just mental health. We have physical health. We have to have mental health. And so things like having conversations about where you want to go, having a direction, having a purpose in life can help us to drive when things do get hard. But like you said, having things in your room that you look at that help you see the accomplishments and the places and the things that you've done, like all of that can be super, super valuable. And just remembering to really find that grounding in yourself. Like we can't find that grounding in a false identity. We have to be real with ourselves. And when we feel things, we have to have the courage to be able to talk about those things because they will eat us alive. There were so many times in my life that I would really be struggling with something and I would keep that to myself and it would compound and I'd think I'm all right, but it builds and it builds and it builds to a point where, you know, you're so blinded by it that you can't even see a path forward. And that's when you need a perspective shift. And so a lot of times, sorry, that was a long response. I just really appreciated that
right.
you like breezed past the fact that you shared that. And it's really tough for some people to share that. And so I just want to acknowledge that. And the more that people come out and can share that struggle, it is really tough to do sometimes. But really people coming together and communicating, there is so much that happens. It's not that, you know, you're going to leave, there's this powerful shift that happens. Although I believe that us all coming together, having those good vibes and laughter and, you know, seeing other brothers and sisters working through life, like that's powerful in itself. But then having conversations where you hear somebody that has something that's similar happening to you, you're able to change your perspective in a real way where you're like, I have dealt with that. I have heard that. And they did something differently. And here they are. You know, whether they're further along down the path or, you know, they just chose to do something a little bit different than you are, you may gain some perspective to leave there. And that is really helpful in itself. We haven't even started to talk about the plant medicines and how they can come in and help you find freedom. But the communication aspect is huge. And I know that, you know, for men and veterans in general, it is tough to like talk about that. You know, a lot of times we are taught to suppress our emotions from a young age. Boys don't cry, things like that. And so, you know, everybody struggles with mental health, but I've seen a lot of men unable to really even find the words to communicate mental health or what that feels like because we don't really want to talk about those feelings because we can just move past it. You know, we're trained to just I'll go work right now and I won't talk about the mountain of mental health issues that I have going on. I can get things done and we can keep doing that and pushing that down, but we'll never truly heal until we let that out, until we really talk to some people about it. And that does not have to be a community. There are people that aren't ready to talk about it, but a mental health provider, a counselor, that can all be really helpful. Just having someone to get that out to and really communicate, it's important.
I think it was important that you were talking about that self-shame. And I get that a lot with, I've had a lot of friends die, like too many. And that really just like, you don't get back to normal from that. And I think sometimes when like I'll tell a story about a friend and then I'll have these like 5 seconds where I feel like I shouldn't be talking about, I shouldn't be talking about that because, you know, he's no longer here. Or like, then I start making myself feel bad about it. But then I'll be like, no, if I want to talk about it and tell a story about my friend who has passed, that's totally fine that I go ahead and do it. And like that boring painting on the wall, like most of that living room is how my best friend's living room was when we used to hang out. So that's his stuff.
Yeah.
But I wanted that there because I wanted it to feel like I was in his room. But there's a part of me that feels like I should feel like that's weird and I should feel ashamed. And then it's like, but that's what people start putting on themselves. And then I feel like that's where you start locking down these feelings and not dealing with stuff where like, that's going to be a part of my life because he was a part of my life. And like, if I want this hutch to be in the shot because that, you know, that's all stuff from him. Yeah. But it's like, it's important to do that. And over the time of losing so many friends, I've learned what to do when people die, which is a horrible thing to know what to do. like now I'm like, no, it's okay to talk about Josh because this is what you did with Michael. And then this made it so much easier to get through. So going back to what I'm saying is like for you guys to have a spot like that where somebody wants to talk about stuff like that, like there's not a lot of people that are probably doing what I'm doing, or maybe there are and I just don't realize it because they don't talk about it. But like if somebody's not doing what I'm doing and they're suppressing those feelings, who do they talk to about that? And then it's like when you sit around and let that stuff eat at you and you're not relaxing, you're not doing yoga, you're not exercising, you're not doing all the things that release those emotions, you're pretty much up shit's creek without a fucking paddle, and there's really no way to get out of it. You're just in some deep mud and it's like quicksand, and sometimes when you sink in that, it's like, it's, you know, there's nothing more comfortable than wearing a fucking blanket of depression, and it's really fucking hard to get out of that. But I mean, for you guys to have that spot to go and just be like, you know, like there's definitely someone who's going to that, who's going through what I'm talking about and has no clue how to get the fuck out of it.
Definitely. And it's not a place where you don't have to talk if you don't want to. You can come, chill out.
That's
listen.
the other thing too, is there's people that just want to be comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I try to build it to make it very cozy and warm in there. So you come, you feel comfortable. So you hang out.
Oh, it is.
And then you know, if you want to listen,
it's got to be comfortable.
It's got to be.
Nice.
We're all on different pathways right now. Everybody who comes to these meetings, and you might hear somebody from somebody else's journey who's 10 years out the service, and you're a year out, and you're like, oh well, I'm glad I know that now. And then you build up your comfort until you want to talk, if you want to talk, or you just take away what you can just by sitting there listening.
What changed the game when you guys started using CBDs and marijuana and yoga? Like, how did that start changing your guys' perspective on how? Because I'm sure it was things that helped you guys.
Let me jump in on this one. I definitely want to chime in. I never smoked at all until I got out of the military. At all, not a cigarette, nothing. I was just living life and taking it as it came, which was great. I did my military career. I had a great time in it. I saw a lot of cool things. But there came a time where I hit a little mental break, and I went to therapy for the first time in 2018.
I love therapy.
I love therapy now. I went into it so hesitant, though. I went into it with the idea like, all right, well, this is my mission now. Like, I'm going to have to be here. I'm not excited about it, but this is what I'm going to do. So I went in it not begrudgingly, but not, I would say, skeptically. Like, who is this guy that I've never talked to? What you gonna tell me about me? Yeah. So I experienced that. I wrote some notes here. So
you're all right, man.
I learned how to check in. And that's what I wanted to bring up with not only this interview, but the things we do on Wednesdays.
That's been major.
I learned how to check in. And you know how people say, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. But in therapy, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. Why are you good?
Yeah.
yeah.
What about today make today good? And then like really diving into it. So just learning how to do that for myself really taught me about myself. I learned how to love myself in a way that I never did before. And that really is the change. So I was on prescription medication in conjunction with therapy. I didn't like the side effects. I learned about New Jersey's medical marijuana program. Then I started trying cannabis. Now, the issue there is that I didn't have anyone to teach me how to use cannabis. So I'm sitting here rolling the whole joint after I learned how to roll a joint. And then, to my knowledge, you smoke the whole joint. But we have great cannabis in New Jersey, and I was over medicated. I was feeling lethargic and I was couch ridden and stuff like that. So I had to really figure out how to smoke, and then that opened my eyes to I need to know some people in the game. I need to know some experienced individuals. I learned about CBD. That's when I met with Dave. I think we met in like a 7-Eleven parking lot or something like that.
In Jersey.
Because I wanted to not just go straight for THC, but have some variants. I linked up with Ron, and like I said, eventually we connected all three of the paths. But me wanting to set up that therapy session or be a part of it being set up led for me going to therapy. Me adding it to my regimen of finding balance came from, I wouldn't say just THC. It really came from when I met Dave and started introducing CBD into the mix.
Yeah.
So this whole thing, these modalities of therapy and then the use or conjunction of THC and CBD really helped me learn me and then be able to dive deep enough to articulate to others to say, hey, this is how I got out of that. I don't know how Ron got into it initially, but I know that their knowledge of the plant and of therapies in general has helped me tremendously. So that community within the group is killer. My questions when I have questions about cannabis, because I've only been smoking for like a year, 2 now. I go to these guys. It's created a community for me. It's created balance for me. I can teach people. It's my thing. I enjoy it. And when I say it's my thing, I mean balance in general. I enjoy the cannabis side of it. I love the therapy side of it. I love the community side of it.
How long did it take you to balance out on the marijuana? Like, because if that is important to go over too, because if you don't understand what you're doing and you get super high, then you start feeling like a shit. Like sometimes I'll get like way too high and be like, what are you doing, dude? But then I also got into edibles, and when I got into edibles and I started being able to get into my milligrams, and like now I can like, because I called my one buddy the one day and I was like, hey man, I'm like, there's so much that like I want to, like, that made me, like, I was so relaxed. I said, there's things that, like, it released and opened up that I want to do. And I was like, but I can't take, like, 10 and sit on the couch, like, or, you know what I mean? Like, so then when I started getting into, like, microdosing, where sometimes I'll just enjoy taking a little hit that'll just level me out and keep me balanced, and then I can keep getting through my day without the claws of, like, self-doubt and then like making me, all the things that trigger me going back into depression. It's like those things kind of level out. Was it hard for you to be able to find what was good for you, or how long did it take? Or were you just like overly high for a month on your couch binging Netflix?
I will say this. This is a great question. I will say that for the first maybe week or so, I was like, I'm out of the military. I'm gonna do what I want.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to work. So I would say for the first week or so, there was like a trial and error, but I have generally been self-aware and pretty determined. My advice to anyone getting into cannabis is, one, THC is not for everyone. And I would say, honestly, marijuana may not be for everyone.
Yeah.
I think the therapy, to some degree, is for everyone. But I went into it saying, I know what goals I have right now. I know what I want to do, what kind of life I want to be living. And so this addition of cannabis can't change that. So once I had to be aware, be honest with myself, like, all right, am I starting to slip? Am I starting to be late with my current use of cannabis? And if so, where's the point where it's going off the rails? So I just started dialing it back. I want to also add that I'm a father. And I try to be very involved too. So I didn't have a lot of wiggle room. Like, my daughter's here. I speak to her very openly about my medical use. I took her to the doctor's office with me when I got my card. She asked her own questions to the doctor. It's a family thing. Yeah. She's not sitting there watching me load bowls, but she understands that this is, flower. This is daddy's medicine, and I want to make sure I'm on top of my game in all the ways that I can be, so that I can take care of myself and teach others to do the same. So the short version, I guess, would be that it took about a week to 2 weeks to really get focused. And then from there, I'm still learning things, but I would say about a month later, I was like, all right, this is probably my regimen right here.
Yeah, that's self-awareness. And there's also people who don't have self-awareness at all.
That was me, man. The way you explained that was incredible because I did not have that experience at all.
Well, what was your experience?
Did not have the self-awareness. I was loaded up on pharmaceuticals and like really in a comatose, man, way heavier than I am now, just freaking lost. And so for me, cannabis was it was really a lifesaver. And I know some people say that, but I legitimately say it, man. I believe that it has in that moment changed my life. Now I realize there were so many other things that I needed to do, and mental health really was the key in communication. But as far as the cannabis route, again, cannabis is not for everyone. I will definitely say that. I've met some people that really it just doesn't work well. There are people that are allergic. There are so many different things. And so really understanding your body is the most important part. But in that very beginning, I did not know what I was doing. I just consumed and tried things. And I tried to use it topically and then inhaling and, edibles, and really had a struggle of a time. But I also was feeling better than I had ever felt in my entire life. So within that like uncertainty of, the fog and what should I do and how am I feeling? Like I started to feel relief, and then I got a grip on myself and I was like, all right, one, the program is way, way, way too incredibly expensive. And that's another thing, the access aspect I would love to chat about because that's huge with upcoming legislation and things. But the program's really expensive, so you can't mess around. I mean, you can blow $1,000 really, really quick, and for not much. So I started to get really strategic in figuring out what worked for me. There is no insurance or coverage on medical marijuana, and so it's important to really understand how it works for you and to get into a regimen. But I did realize early on that people say sativa, indica, hybrid all the time. But in reality, you really need to understand and learn about terpenes and all of the different cannabinoids. There are so many different aspects to this plant. Our body has a natural CB1, CB2 receptor that these cannabinoids are replenishing. And so when I realized that terpenes were in all plants and that, these things can help, like essential oils and things like that, they're very similar. I started to learn what worked for me, what helped me with, leveling my mind with the depression and with my anxiety. I found terpenes like myrcene, and when I needed something to like uplift me, I'd go to limonene or linalool and things like that. But then really early on, I also learned about CBD. And, in our medical marijuana program, there's a ton of very high THC products with not a ton of the other cannabinoids added in. There's some great terpene profiles, but really incorporating that CBD had been a game changer, especially for me with I had a back surgery. It really helped me feel a full body effect by even mixing the flower. So I would get, THC flower, I would grind up some CBD flower next to it, and I would do my own ratios, like a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1, whatever I needed, to sort of level myself out. And then that helped. But it takes a time period for your body to get to that point of homeostasis where your cannabinoid receptors are they're replenished and they're getting to the spot where you've reached your like level of balance, I like to call it. And so that is different for everyone. It depends on your body type and how you metabolize things. And so there's no one size fits all. That was another reason for this organization, because there are a lot of questions around that. And hey, have you tried this? Have you tried this product? So it's been important.
There's so much to go over with all that. We can do this. And the other thing too is, just with seeing how this is going is, we could definitely do this again because there's going to be way too much information to get out in one podcast. But I'll leave the door open if you guys want to even come in once a month and do your own podcast here. So, what was it like for you to get into the CBD? So were you actively using CBD, and then, where did you start? Did you have general information before you hooked up with Ed and them?
I had a little bit, but just like these guys' stories, it's the same thing. Like I didn't know what I was doing, and I was overdoing it in the beginning with the cannabis. And then I was like Ron's story. I was heavy on pharmaceuticals. I wanted to get off that after like 8 years of these 9-pill day regimens that I was on, and led me into that cannabis thing. And so I started messing with the cannabis program, but then I was getting way too high, just like everybody was saying. And so I had to dial it back, find my regimen, like Dan was talking about, which parts of the days worked good for me. And then I learned about I started learning about all the cannabinoids and CBD. I was like, what is this? So I looked into it, and a CBD shop opened up, which was Smooth Roots, and that's where I started pulling information off of the websites, and then just from asking them questions. And then as I learned, I wanted to tell it to other people who were in the program or other people who didn't know anything about it, because I hear from a lot of people like, it's fake weed. He's got a fake weed shop.
Yeah, but that's what was so important to me
Diet
about.
weed.
Yeah.
But when Smooth Roots came on, I feel like they had and I had people text me and they were like, "Dude, I never knew that much information off of CBD," and I think it's kind of looked at. I think it hasn't hit its potential on what it can actually do for people.
There's still a
Definitely
ton of negative stigma just associated with it because it comes from the cannabis plant. I have people come in the shop all the time. They're like, ew, like, I'm looking, but I don't know. And they have that like face on, like they're embarrassed to be in there. They're not sure how to act. And it's like, it's not that big of a deal. This is CBD.
Such a stigma.
It's none of that is true what you're believing. And so I just want to educate. So I give everybody my story when they come in. Like, why are you? Like, what do you? I take it for this reason. I do this as well. I don't just smoke weed. I incorporated workouts and yogas and breathing techniques and all sorts of alternative health therapies. It's a multitude of things. Not just one thing. You got to add it all together. And that's what I try to explain to every customer that comes in who at least wants to try to learn something.
Yeah.
Is I try to educate as much as I can. I give them my email. Shoot me as many questions as you want. I'll respond to whatever, whenever. So I try to be as open with the customers and just get the knowledge that I'm learning from Smooth Roots and Eddie and them and pass it off to these guys. And whatever they learn, I pass back. And it's just a flow of information trying to get around to everybody.
Did you have something you wanted to add?
I love the fact that he brought up that he explains to the customers, I use it for these reasons and those reasons. We always talk about breaking the stigma, and that was one of my bigger points for wanting to be on social media, explaining, hey, I smoke cannabis. Like all of the things that I've done, the person that you all knew me as, I'm still that exact same person. Not saying that they knew what prescriptions I was taking back then, but you guys can know I'm taking medicine now and be fine with it. Well, it's the same thing, but I'm taking cannabis instead. Instead of 8 pills, I'm taking 1 plant. So same me, and I got excited when he was saying, yeah, I'll tell my customers all the time, because like I said, I didn't know anything about cannabis, and the people in my life when I was a child, what they did know was negative. So I was only told negative things. It needs to be gotten out there. Like when someone's talking to you and they're amazed at how intelligently and how elegantly you put your words and this and that. You're like, yeah, I'm toasty right now. Like, yeah, this person that you're like, oh, you're doing all these things. Yeah, I am. And I'm doing it while medicated, because you can approach this with in a dosing sense. You don't have to go all or nothing. Or you can.
I like having that.
Or you can.
But I like having the control, especially with edibles. Like I like, because sometimes if I have time, I'll eat the whole thing. And what's funny is
you plan your day.
Yeah. Like, so if I have a Sunday or a Saturday, I'm not doing anything, and I know I'm not leaving here, and this is a great place to hang out because I can lock 2 doors, and I don't got to hear shit. There's no noise. Every now and then you'll hear something over there, and I'll get freaked out. But like I can spend the whole day in here. But I also like getting up and like sometimes if I'm hanging out with my friends and I know I'm going to be drinking, and I'm like, but I still want to, do it beforehand. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to take 3 to 5 because I know if I take 10, then we're going to a place that's weird. But like, yeah, it lights out. But it's like if I still want to hang out and function and not be melted into the couch, sometimes it's important for me to melt into the couch. Yeah, that's where I get my soul searching and my check. When you put yourself in check, that's when I do that, when I'm melted. But like, I like having the option of being able to not do that. And sometimes it's hard with smoking a joint, where if you don't know your limits, and like what you said, I couldn't imagine where you're like, you just smoke a whole joint.
I didn't,
and you never smoked.
No one told me any other thing. No one in any rap video, nothing says you smoked half the thing and then you put nothing.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah. So Darren has a brand called Nice and Toasty, and it's, one of the logos is this like astronaut, and it's just really dope. And I think that may be where it came from, that very first joint. You were just so.
Honestly,
you were in space, baby.
The idea behind Nice and Toasty was like, I'm not fried out necessarily.
Yeah.
Like I'm right where I want to be. I'm riding with the window down on a cool day. I got my seat heater on.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm nice and toasty. I'm just right where I want to be.
I'll cut that into a promo for you.
You nailed it. That's perfect right there.
But you brought up something I wanted to hit on real quick. You brought up alcohol. When I was in the military, I drank every day. Like
It's the culture.
I didn't skip one day. And I wasn't like drunk necessarily. I wasn't drunk. I really got to a place like at dinner, I drank, one or two heavy drinks, and I would get a nice buzz going on. I'd have my whole routine, get to bed. And it wasn't a big deal necessarily. It wasn't affecting my show times or my accomplishments, but it was affecting my body health-wise. And after a while, I'm 30 now. After a while, it was just like the wake up started taking forever. So now I smoke and I still enjoy the act of drinking, but I don't anymore. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't, but I have been able to use cannabis as my own reward when I think, oh, maybe I want to drink. Like, bro, your life is good. You really need all that? That's what I say to myself, because that's how alcohol affected me, and that's a choice that I made for myself. If anyone else who was not smoking has been thinking about, man, I need to get off alcohol, I want to stop, I would say give it a shot.
Yeah.
No doubt.
This whole thing started from I quit drinking. Oh my God. When I was 28, I'm 40 now. And that's where like the never again, the whole thing came from, was like this time in my life when I just didn't want to be a fuck up anymore. Yeah. And how I transitioned off of heavily drinking and blacking out like almost every other day was I started smoking. And I didn't tell anyone, because everyone just thought like, oh, I quit drinking. But I was just like kind of wanted to be by myself. Yeah. And it was a super big, easy transition to get off of the repetitive patterns of drinking. And then I weaned myself off the marijuana, and then I just did 10 straight years with nothing, and then I'm now back to where I just wanted my life back. I never, there's things with quitting and stuff that I learned over the years of being sober, where there's these little moments in time where you start feeling bad about it. Like I went to my brother's wedding, and then I started feeling, oh, well, I can't drink because I did something wrong. So there's like these little moments of self-punishment that built up over 10 years. And then one day I was just like, fuck it. I don't want to feel like that anymore. I don't want to punish myself for something I did 10 years ago. Yeah. And now I'm running a business and I'm responsible. And I'm saying there are definitely people who cannot go back to what they did, but I was able to. So like now it's like, it's like what I tell everybody what this whole thing was, is that it was just, I was just a fuck up, and I was just drinking too much. And I was sick and tired of telling people, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. None of this would have happened if I didn't stop drinking. I would have never started a clothing company, and then I would have never started learning business. And now the way it is that like we were talking about before the show, is that I have friends who are like, hey, you want to go get a beer? No, because I know what I'm doing. Like I can't go day drinking on a Wednesday now because I know what I'm doing. So I'm running a business, which then filled the gap of me being creatively, frustrated creatively. And then now it's back to where I'm, I don't know. There is a key to balance, and there's a key to a lot of that stuff.
Well, you have a self-awareness about it. And I think that, man, like alcohol was prescribed as a medicine, like these are tools that we can come to. And I think if we can have a healthy relationship with these tools, then you can use them however you see fit. And, if you can be responsible with it. But again, that's all our own decisions with it. But, thanks for sharing that again, man. This, like what you have and what you've built, like I walked in, we were blown away. This is a very, very cool space, and we're excited to be a part of this, man. It's really
Thank you. I appreciate it. One of my favorite things is doing this in this dumb town. like there's nothing going on here, and then I'm slowly, that's all it is, pizza. All it is pizza. There's like 15 pizza shops. I think 2 of them are legit. Nice. And the rest is just, but the other thing I tell everybody, I said, the rent's cheap and there's no red tape. So if I want to start, selling food here, what I would have to do here is 3 times cheaper than if I was doing it in Allentown, Bethlehem, or Easton. But one thing I wanted to go over, because it was a big part of my life growing up, is the being medicated and being put on meds. I was put on, I don't know, I was like early on in the ADD, ADHD kids before, what is it now that everybody takes because they want to study? Adderall. Before
Adderall,
Adderall, it was Ritalin.
yeah.
Before Adderall, it was
Ritalin,
Ritalin,
yep.
which was like the
I was gonna say Ritalin.
yeah, but that's what it was back in the day. So I was on like Ritalin, Paxil, all these like, you know, my parents didn't know what to do. I look at it now and they were basically just trying to tranquilize a wild horse. You know what I mean? Like that's what I feel like
Exactly,
that's
yeah.
what they do sometimes with meds.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
And then like my buddy Josh would pick me up and I would be like how you guys come down here. I get excited and I start going bam, 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 bam. I was talking like I had 9 cups of coffee. But that's how much energy I had as a kid. And then the next day I would remember to take my meds and I'd come in the car and I'd be like, hey. And then I wouldn't talk the whole ride. And he'd go, you took your meds today? And I go, yeah. And he'd always go, you're always so different when you don't take your meds. He's like, I like you when you're not on your meds. And then that stuck. And then I just started thinking like, that's probably where all my self-awareness started coming from as a child to be like, well, what is this doing? What is this? Is this making me, I don't feel better because now I don't feel like me. And then that's when I had a really tough struggle with prescription pills. And then when I was 18, I'm off of them. And then like when I was sober, it was easy to stay sober because I never got into fucking abusing pills. I never, you know, I hate fucking pills. And that was the one big thing too, where you guys were saying about how these people come out of the military and then they're prescribed all these mood things. And then the side effects are fucking terrible. Like the last time I had to get on anti-anxiety medicine because it wasn't manageable with like the things that I have, the side effects were so fucked up. And then within a month, I just started taking them whenever I had a problem.
Yeah.
Like, so it went from like me having a panic attack to being like, oh, well, I don't want to fucking talk. I don't want to fucking deal with that. Click. And then I'm just sitting on the couch, click. And then now I just said to myself, I'm like, what are you doing? And I just flushed them all down the toilet. Yeah. I fucking cannot stand prescription fucking medicine.
I hear you on that, man.
Man, you know, and I definitely want to throw the disclaimer out there because it's just got to be said. You know, medication is there for a reason. We do have science behind it, and I think that some people need it, and it
Of
is
course.
definitely necessary.
No, I know people who take it and it helps them.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
it's awesome for them. That was just my perspective on what I went through as a kid, and that's why I don't like it. But I think there's a lot of alternative things.
Oh my God, yeah.
That isn't pushed like CBD or marijuana or all these things where you're like talking about it as a balanced perspective that is totally fucking ignored. And then there's people that is fucking up their mental health from taking it, and you could be giving them an alternative, and I feel like they don't, and I don't know if it's because it's money or why, but like I don't think the voice isn't loud enough, and that's why I wanted you guys to come on the platform.
Well, you brought up money, and I don't know how much time we have, but I would love to talk about access.
We're
for a
fine.
second.
I mean, I don't know what time you guys. It's 11, so it's like I'll keep going if you guys want to keep going. I mean, we definitely have, 25 more minutes before we're probably about at an hour. But if you want to keep going, we'll go.
Well, I'll just mention this briefly because it's really important. We do have these medical programs. We keep hearing, almost every state has some sort of access to cannabis. I think there are 3 that don't at this point, but it's really still not accessible for people. I think in the state of Pennsylvania, the program is very expensive. And so we do what we can to try to get, veterans their medical marijuana cards for free. And we're partnering with Operation 1620 out of Chicago, Illinois to help even more veterans this year to do, all things cannabis and really reach more vets to help break this access barrier down. There are places like Canada where the VA prescribes veterans cannabis. And, that is something, a beautiful, beautiful model that maybe someday a pipe dream could happen here. But
be amazing.
When that's not happening, we've got to help each other. And so organizations coming together to help lower that entry, or that barrier for access is really important. But then to continue advocating, we advocate heavily on a state and national level for access to cannabis. We work with the Veterans Action Council, and they're trying to, in all the ways possible, push access issues for veterans, and that's for all plant medicines. But cannabis in general is just it's not covered by insurance. It's not considered a medication. It's scheduled as in the same bracket as heroin. And so for people, it's crazy. One, there's a huge stigma around it. And then 2, when you do get on the program, it's not very affordable. And so you get to a point where you start to make those decisions and you're like, you know what? I got to go back to this store-bought serotonin because I just can't afford to buy my medical marijuana anymore. And we've seen time and time again, cancer patients and people that cannot access the medication. Waiting in lines and not being able to access it due to financial issues or, the growers and processors in our state not having enough product. You name it, there are access issues across the board. And so it's not like everyone can come to this plan and have that as an option. We still have a lot of work to do to make this plant more accessible. And I believe decriminalization and home grow
is huge.
Those are initiatives that need to happen for us to be able to take the medicine that we use and to be able to, grow that ourselves. There's therapy in that, the horticulture aspect to cultivating cannabis. There's so much therapy that comes from that. But then in return, imagine being able to then consume the medication that you grew. How mind-blowing is that? And then to not have paid much for it. And I think that is something that hopefully we move towards. We see other states with medical programs that allow that, and that would help other people be able to access it, lower the cost a little bit. But it's important because I do think that, and that's another reason why we try to educate as much as we can, because we want people to see this. I'm a full-time college student. What you were talking about with the Adderall, I have ADD like crazy. My mind can race. I can sit here and I can just spit words and go, and my mind's going crazy. But when I take cannabis, for some reason it goes in there and it gets all those thoughts and all those things shooting all over, and it focuses them right to the line that I need, and I'm able to pick and choose and just roll in my conversations.
It's so funny you said that because we were down here for a fight and I got high and I was just sitting in the corner and I was not talking, and for me to not talk is not normal. So my one buddy was just like, he's like, oh, you stop talking. And I was like, yeah, man, I don't like that my fucking brain goes like that nonstop. I'm like, it literally shifts me down to a fucking gear, like you said, nice and fucking toasty, and I can stop fucking talk. I don't like just go. It's extremely exhausting.
It's so exhausting.
It's extremely exhausting.
Dude, in that mental pressure, especially you producing and creating and editing and all the things you do, and I know that because we do that and all of us do that, it's your mind is going. I'm constantly thinking about something, and being able to ever find that relief, man. I mean, cannabis isn't that magic. It's not like it comes in and boom, they're all gone. Sometimes if I, have the wrong strain, I'm thinking way more, and I'm like, oh my
questioning
God,
and why I'm breathing.
What is
Am I supposed to be breathing this way?
But man, it can be really powerful. It has helped me. I'm maintaining a great GPA in school. I'm leading a business. We're doing what we're doing. We're helping so many veterans, and I attribute that to cannabis. I really do, and among other tools, but that has been my go-to daily driver to help me, find balance.
How's Smooth Roots been being a part of all this with how you came in and got involved with Smooth Roots, and now you can give back like this? Like, what's that feel like to run that store and then help these guys out, where now you're a part of this thing that's growing, and not only have you opened a business, but now you're helping people as well? Because I mean, with that business, you're essentially helping others, but now it's like you're kind of going above and beyond.
It feels great. If one thing I can tell you, it's a good feeling being able to open up every day, open up my store, and then just get to talk to amazing different people when they come in, they just put down their shields and their walls, sort of, and like will tell me things that they would normally only tell their therapist, and I can really connect with people because then I'll talk about my stuff and we'll get on a connection, and it's a good feeling.
Are they opening up like that because they need to know specific strains of CBD that they need for their problems?
They just come in and right off the bat, well, hey, I got this.
I've seen it.
A friend of mine.
I have
seen it
seen
too.
it happen. They walk straight in. Hey, listen.
They'll rattle off like 5 different things and be like,
Yeah.
what should I take for each one of those? And I'll be like, well, you don't need to buy different versions of CBD. Just let's try this out, see how you feel. Come talk to me in like a month. And we'll go from there.
And you said a month too, because you'll expect to go home, use it, and all right, it's all better, but it's not. It takes time to get in your system and to use it. And so being consistent, building a routine around your CBD use is huge. And man, I just wanted to hop in and say another thing you're doing, man. In that space, you're prominent in the community. You're able to not only help us, but I see you helping so many other people in that community and really helping flourish and educate to break that stigma. This is so much more than just us being a space or being there. Like, people finding this plant and finding some sort of a new alternative, like it's gonna change that community in a real positive way.
It is,
and it's so cool.
I want to say there's people from all different walks of life that come in too. So I mean, I hear it all over the place. Cannabis is a great unifier.
Yeah.
It really is, and people don't even realize it. They're coming in just to check it out. Maybe like some major CEO of some big corporations coming in because his wife wanted gummies. But then he sees something that he might use for his golf swing, like a cream. So he'll buy the cheap one and go home. Then he'll come back in a month later and be like, holy shit. What? Hey, man, it works. But like I get all different types of walks coming in, and it's a good feeling. I don't have the stress that I used to have from all the jobs before, where I was working for somebody else, and I hate that. Getting up and going in.
Yeah. That ride to work, if you don't hate that.
I hated that. I hated it. But this is a whole new freedom to me. So it feels good. And connecting with these guys at this level, the timing was perfect. That when we all linked up and everything's just flowing in the right way, and it just all feels natural and feels good.
What all do you offer out of the store for, like what do you offer for anyone who's coming in there?
I have every version of CBD products you could think of. I have full spectrum, broad spectrums. We have isolates. We got concentrates, vapes, edibles, tinctures, flower. I have like 15 strands of different flower, and we can break down for you and tell you the ins and outs of each one of them. Bath salts and bombs, like you can name it. We got.
Yeah, I keep trying to explain to everybody when I do the promos for Smooth Roots and what you guys are doing, and this is not gas station. It's not the free CBD you get with the pen.
Do not buy your CBD from the gas station.
Man.
If you're listening to this, do not buy your CBD from a gas station.
Well, that was crazy too, is what Ed was telling me. It was that like how you could fail like what your CBD code is supposed to be up to, but then you could still sell it even though it failed. Or he was getting into something where a lot of the stuff you buy is not like good for you at all. And it's like butane.
Oh yeah, because if you don't know where it's coming from, i.e. a gas station or even Amazon, people come in and they're like, I got this 50,000 milligram CBD for $10 on Amazon. I'll be like, okay.
I'm sure you did.
I'm sure that's just coconut oil.
Yeah, you got some coconut oil in there.
And then they get mad at me because I'm trying to tell them something that's maybe like 1,200 milligrams for like $70. And like, Amazon is $10.
Dude, and shout out, you mentioned them earlier. Shout out to Trichome Farms, man.
Yeah.
That's some high quality stuff.
I mean, this is award-winning cannabis farm in Oregon. They've been doing it for a long time. They've won awards on their cannabis and they won awards on their CBD. And so it's not like some random white label blah blah blah. I guess generic form of CBD. This is from a real craft farm.
Yeah, that was the big thing with that. What Ed was pushing on the show was that it's coming from that farm.
Yeah, these guys know what they're doing.
They're already set up out there.
Yeah,
and that matters.
And they've been doing it since 2001, so that's almost 20 years of experience.
Yeah,
right there, where you don't get that out here in the East Coast. So it's just good to know that you know where it's coming from. You can tell the customers that it came from here, and we know exactly like how it grew and what was in the soil it grew out of. Like we know. We can go that deep into it if they wanted to know. Where if you get it from Amazon, I don't know what. We'll test it for you and tell you what it comes back having in it, but that's about it.
It's crazy when he was explaining it and hearing what was really out there was just kind of eye-opening. And I was just like, oh, man.
Yeah. You really got to pay attention to what you're buying.
Yeah.
Like research what you're doing before you go to any CBD, or even before you get into even medical marijuana, CBD. Just research it. Learn the ins and outs.
And when you go to Smooth Roots, if you're not sure what to buy, they have this little brownie. Oh my God.
Oh,
it's incredible.
It's good.
I've had 3 of them now.
It's high in CBG.
Today.
not today.
Where do you guys see Balanced Veterans? Where do you see Smooth Roots? Where do you see all of this coming as one? And where do you guys want to take all this?
Oh my goodness, that's a huge question.
It is a huge question.
You know, our team just made a really big decision here in the last couple weeks to sort of merge and start working together with this organization called Operation 1620. They're out of Chicago, Illinois. They've been I keep saying Illinois.
Is it Illinois?
No, it's Illinois, no S, I think, right? But I always say Illinois, and that's weird.
Maybe, I don't know. I know I say it wrong regardless.
Yeah. I hear myself saying it. I'm like, man, that's not right. So anyway, but no, they're doing amazing things. They've built a really great community around the cannabis space. And we're really excited to now help more veterans than we ever have before. Since we've started in 2019, we've helped 103 veterans receive their medical marijuana card for free, which is, it's dope.
we hit 100. That's good.
Yeah. We're over that 100 mark, which is cool. But
I didn't know you could do that. Like that. So that's why I had that question. Is I didn't know that was a thing that you can get veterans their medical marijuana card for free.
It's huge.
No one else is doing it in the state, or a few other states as well. But it is something that, thanks to donations and strategic partnerships with some other organizations, we're able to provide a certain amount every month. So we can't help every single veteran in the state, but that's our goal. And I think that
You could get there.
I think so. And between having conversations with the Department of Health, they've been incredible. They see what we're doing, and they're watching. And I think that we're going to continue to try to just provide high quality education and really a space for veterans to connect to other veterans. We have to get creative. The coronavirus, I even hate saying it to give it, the platform anymore, but it has really changed the game for us. It really has. I think it's changed the game for everybody. And now more than ever, connecting digitally, doing things like this, people being able to see this, it's important. And so we are excited to, bring other aspects. We're going to be doing hopefully bi-weekly wellness classes online, so that veterans from all over are able to join in. They can be medicated. You don't have to, but that's an option. We're going to be doing some breathing workshops and some different things to bring in some alternative therapies, all the while continuing to do what we've been doing in the cannabis space and educating. We had a meetup in Valley Forge a couple weeks ago, had around 20 veterans come out. It was cold, but people came out. It was very cool. But we're going to continue to try to provide safe spaces for the education and advocacy of alternative therapies. But now doing that with a larger team, and hopefully we get some support from some organizations in different states that will help us. They see our mission, what we're trying to do, and hopefully we'll have some people come alongside of us that believe in what we're doing, and we'll try to support. And that's all we can do, is really just continue to try. I know I have the most motivated team on this planet, that's for sure. I've met a lot of veterans. I've flown around and met other veteran leaders and organizations. And with the team that we have forming right now, I really believe that we are going to make a huge impact. We are making a huge impact in this veteran space. And it's really, every day I wake up, and it's an honor to continue to serve. And you mentioned this earlier. You said Mike, and it immediately brought this back to me. The first friend I ever lost, his name was Michael Maldonado. And I literally believe that, he changed my life forever. And, it changed how I connect with people and things like that. You know what it does. I mean, it can really, you get to a point after you lose so many, you said you've lost a lot of friends, that you get really numb to it. But I've had a perspective change where I've stopped running from that. I've stopped not talking about it. I've stopped escaping from it, and I celebrate that. And I'm going to quote this. It's not a quote, but This Is Us. I heard it last night on the show, and they talked about time. And that, I really don't believe that time is a thing anymore. I just think that there are memories, and there are good memories, and there are bad memories, and it doesn't matter how long ago that memory is special to you, and we're able to hold on to those. And that's where, that keeps me going. When I think about Mike, it keeps me going, because I'm like, he's no longer here for himself and his daughter, but I get to live a life, and I get to build hopefully a beautiful life that, he would be proud of. And I think that we all can live our lives through our fallen brothers and sisters, and hopefully, live our lives with honor, something that they would be proud of, and they don't get that opportunity anymore. And I think when we find that mental freedom, that's the coolest thing about this. When we come to that spot where you find an alternative therapy like cannabis or mental freedom, you cannot help but scream it from the mountaintops. And we have people that want to share their story, and they want to talk about, I found this, and I'm getting off pharmaceuticals every day, and I'm finding a new life, and blah, blah, blah. And we want to continue to facilitate that and really allow people to find that freedom, and plugging them into true help. We do advocate heavily for people to be in therapy. I go to therapy regularly with the VA, and there are horror stories, but there are also great stories. You can switch counselors. There are so many ways to get help. The VA is not for you. There are other mental health services. There are things online. There are no excuses. And if you need help, and if you have a barrier that is there for you to not get the help, please reach out. We're going to make sure you get it. For sure.
That's huge, man. There was so much that you hit on there, and it's important that you kind of find your help and your lane. And it's like, I look back on how this whole thing was started and what it was for, and it's like I started it when I quit drinking, and when I lived above a bar, was dating a heroin addict, and I did it for a year, and it was one of the craziest things. And I stayed sober the entire time. But when I created this, this is what always kept me in my lane. So it's like, you know, when you were saying it's important to come back to things and look at memories and things like that. And it's like every time I work on this, it puts me in that mental space. And like when I was saying to you when you first got here, like I'll never stop doing this because this is what, like, I didn't realize that I built a tool. And it's like you need tools in order to stay in lanes, and you need things in order to, you know, you need things to kind of guide you in a direction where you need to stay in that safe place. So it's like when I created this, I didn't know what it was. Like this wasn't a business. It wasn't, you know, I was selling t-shirts, but like I would just create a new shirt. All right, well, create a new shirt. It's going to get you to another month. All right, create this. It's going to get you to another month. And it's like when I stayed on that path and started realizing like where things were going in my life and how things were taking me. And now the more I put effort and time into this, it's turning into a real thing. And then that taught me that I can literally do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
And if you have mental health issues or you have a lot of depression or you're losing friends or you're just fucked from something that happened in your life, and it's like if you don't have a place to plug in, if you don't have people being like, hey man, like, you know, there's definitely things I learned with being sober that I'll hold on to me for the rest of my life. But it's like if I wouldn't have tried doing that, and taken, you know, like I said, if I wouldn't have quit drinking that day, none of this would exist.
Dude, this is an alternative therapy for you. It's
it really is.
Freaking incredible.
I didn't realize what it was until the last friend I lost was my best friend, and I thought about what I needed to do, and I had a bottle of gin here, and I actually have it up on that shelf, and I dumped the gin out, and I was like, okay, that's not going to be your answer. And I was like, what do you need to do? And this place didn't look like this. And this all got created from that moment of like, okay, you need to get back in your route. You didn't do that last time, and it took 6 months to get the show back together. You need to just jump in your lane. And it's like when I did that, that's when I started decorating with his art. That's when I painted the whole thing blue, and like that's how this all came together. But if I wouldn't have had this tool, and I'd be a fucking drunk. I'd be a fucking drunk in this town, stuck on a bar stool, like other people in this town who are stuck on a fucking bar stool. And I'm not judging those people. I'm just saying it's really fucking easy to get stuck on a fucking bar stool. So it's like if you don't have that help and you don't have that avenue, and I think it's awesome that you guys are giving people an opportunity to get off of a fucking bar stool. You're giving people an opportunity to get off their couch. Like you need to get the fuck up and you need to start moving. You need to start your day with like, you know, yoga, exercise. I don't even care if you just, like my buddy Bill posted today, he's like, don't look at your phone when you wake up, get up, start stretching, walk in a fucking circle, but do anything to get your fucking mind straight before you start going in the day. And for you guys to be doing that, one, as a Balanced Veterans, and then have Smooth Roots come in, and then you guys are actively joining forces with them, I really think that you guys are going to be able to accomplish all the things that you want, on top of being able to start changing massive people's lives. Like especially somebody who like my dad, like he needs to get his medical card, but like he doesn't want to get off the couch. He's a super homebody. He doesn't like loud things. And I didn't realize why he was the way he was until I turned 40. And I'm like, okay, you were through some traumatic shit at the age of 18 being in the Vietnam War, and went through shit that like most people will never even fucking, you know, go through. And it's like, so your idea of like what you want to do is a very small circle. So it's like he's just looking in now into things that he should have been doing years ago, but he didn't want to talk about. He didn't want to talk about what he went through. He doesn't want to talk to a therapist. Like what you said, it's very much don't share your feelings. That was back in the fucking 50s. You know what I mean? Like how crazy is it when we grew up and hey, hold your feelings, as to how heavy it was back then.
I can't imagine.
So I mean, you know, what I want to do, and it'll be hard to do, but I want to take him down to the store. And I think it's like we take him down and he can look around at some shit. It maybe will happen. I'm very doubtful, but
we're gonna get him his card, man. We need to get him his
it'd
card.
be cool, because my mom even said it, where she's just like, I think it would help him if he, you know, even just getting him CBDs, because he's just using a lot of fucking painkillers. He's used, like, he just reeks of Ben Gay.
Even
like, I'm like, can we at least just find something that smells better?
You or your mom could be his caregiver. If he doesn't even want to go, you get your caregiver card. And
well, I would bring my mom down there because she's adventurous, and we'll go out.
Dude, we need to make that happen. That's awesome.
But no, I think what you guys are doing is extremely important. Like I said, you know, we can talk after the show. I would love to give you guys an opportunity to. I know it's a drive, but even if you do it once a month or every other month, I think you guys should be doing your own show. I think the three of you could host your own show. You could definitely have a lot of information, and I don't know. I think it's powerful what you're doing. I love having stories on like this, and I can't thank you guys enough for coming on. I want to give each of you a chance to plug where you can find out what you're doing, and then we'll end the show with kind of like your last thoughts on what you want to do.
Dope.
So you can find me on. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're all right,
You
man.
can find me on Instagram.
You can look at the camera too.
Nah, it's weird. Nah,
It's real
We've
weird.
been having conversations. I thought we were gonna start with Ron, so I was turning my head, and he was looking at me. So I was like,
Can I stare right into the camera?
Listen. Going back to my sultry voice.
Yes.
You can find me on Instagram at Nice and Toasty, 2 eyes.
Yeah.
And then
And if that's a separate business, you're more than welcome to come on and plug it or what you're doing. with
no,
Nice
it's
and
really
Toasty.
not. It's just me and my mentality. Like going back to what I said. It's figuring out what I want to do and really going forward with these extra things added into my life. The added therapy. I don't want to say THC only, but cannabis as a whole. Even learning about cannabis is therapeutic to me. So this
And don't be humble. It's a dope account. You should follow it. Nice and Toasty. You're a great content
yeah.
creator,
I
bro.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. But honestly, it's just a carry on. It's a flow from Balanced Veterans. When I see the things that Ron puts together, I wanna have a place to soundboard it. I want to come up with my own content for mental health as well that supports that, and that's what it's about.
Cool.
No,
You go to see. He made us go backwards. We've been going in a circle the whole day. You're good.
I didn't know we were jumping out of line.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say you can find me on Instagram at Redbeard Medicinal, all one word. That's my social media account. I'm not as creative as Darren, so you won't see so many cool photos.
Get out of here.
But I mean, if you want to reach out to me there, I can give you any information about Smooth Roots. Oh, you come check us out in Newtown. We're at 120 South State Street, in historical Newtown, and then we also are in Yardley on Main Street, Hamilton Street in Allentown, and at the Palma Mar. So come check us out. Go to smoothroots.com or come to one of the shops.
Yeah, and I want to tag on that too. Is those guys fuck with the show? They sponsor the show. They help pay the bills here, and I don't just bring any sponsor on to this. I want to have the best of the best, and I believe that Smooth Roots is the best CBD in the area, and I love having those guys on. And I think Ed wants to come back on and do a show that's not really an interview. So you're more than welcome to step back on if we do that as well.
That'd be dope. I'd love to come back.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks, man. This was really, really cool. And you can find me on Instagram at Ron Millward, or Balanced Veterans is at Balanced Veterans, or balancedveterans.com. And we look forward to having a conversation.
Cool, man. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I appreciate it. This is the first time that I've ever had 3 guests, ran a switcher, had to set all this stuff up on my own. I think I did it. I think I did all right. But like I said, you guys have an open door. We can work on some projects. I want to try and get my dad, just even in the CBDs alone. And I feel like there's a gap between my mom's a nurse. So bringing my mom along 100% is, you guys have the information as if it was a doctor. Almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I can't be saying to them like, you take CBD, it's kind of pot, but it's not. Like that's my sell.
Kind of pot, but it's not.
That's what you got. I like that. That's what you came up with.
That's what I came up with.
And he isn't on top of that.
That's good.
So I think he's more worried about I know he's told me stories back in the day, but I don't think he's looking to get high. Yeah. So I would like to take my mom down. I'll see if they'll go, and I'm going to talk to them today. But I'd like to get that going. But anyone who's just a first-time listener, you can check out neveragainstudio.com. That has all of the apparel, all of our other shows, all the sponsor info, how to sponsor. If you need apparel, I can get it. It's a one-stop shop for any business. Thank you guys seriously for coming on. I appreciate you coming on before Thanksgiving, and I will drop this. What's today? Wednesday?
Yeah.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah, it is Wednesday. So this will drop Friday. I'm going to drop it Friday. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I believe it.